Welcome back
Welcome back to another episode of Caps Off
by
Fantasy
Felipe Fontes.
by Felipe Tabachnik.
Yeah, we got Pilecki in the comments. We got some other guys already
Already?
in the comments on TikTok. What's up, guys? Hey, the trade deadline has officially passed. Hopefully you made some trades. Hopefully you listened to us.
I hope so. I hope y'all got better.
Because, I'm not usually, we clown ourselves for the takes we have on the actual pod.
Yeah.
But when it comes to fantasy, I feel like you and I, a lot of our take, I'm just like, let's call it what it is. A lot of our takes in the, even though these 12 weeks have hit.
Our track record's been good this year, man. It's been good this year. It's dope to see people come to us and say, not even to brag on our own.
I want a shameless plug.
People who are like, yo, I was 0-5 and I've rattled off 7 straight wins, or y'all helped me get to 8-1 or whatever, different shit like that. It's fucking dope.
Yeah, I mean, let's just go through our recent takes over these last 12 weeks. Some big ones that stood out, right? So Puka Nacua was a week 1 call.
Yeah.
Puka obviously popped off.
Yeah, you called Puka before week 1.
And Puka's obviously been worse, but he likely got you pretty good to start the season.
Yeah.
CD was a big buy low candidate that we kept saying.
We were on that heavy, and look at CD now. If you have him, he's leading you to victories by himself. Tony Pollard's most recently,
a big one. Bijan is starting to come up late.
Yo, that was a big week this past week.
I know it's taking some time, but Ridley last 2 weeks with Zay Jones, and now people I think PFF and Fantasy Pros has him as a top 24 play the rest of the season in half PPR. So I think things are looking up for some of the takes that we've had.
We talk about Trey McBride. We've talked about Dalton Kincaid. We've been early on these motherfuckers, man.
I just think again, there's so much fantasy content to consume out there, and it's you should always just look at what everyone's saying and kind of make up or come up with what your own narratives are, how to come up with it. I think for us, when it comes to our fantasy takes or just how we analyze something, it always was in a buy low, sell high type of window, I would say, right? So we always looked at something how are they performing now and can they exceed expectations based off of where they are now, or are they over exceeding and I guess, are they exceeding expectations and therefore can they kind of regress a little bit back? And that's how we would always just adjust our buy lows and sell highs. And then naturally you found some better value, right? So Bijan, Tony Pollard, CD Lamb, Puka Nacua, guys like that. So yeah, man, it's been good.
I mean, it's exactly what you say. Guys underperform for multiple weeks and everybody's down on them. Bro, if you got Tony Pollard a couple weeks ago, before these last 2 games, you probably got him cheap as hell. Because he was asked, bro. I was like, man, I'm tired of riding this thing out.
Yeah.
But if you followed us and said he just has to be better than what he's been, it just naturally has to happen. And you got him for super cheap, and now I'm seeing people put him as a top 5 running back rest of season.
Yeah,
bro.
I saw that too.
Crazy shit. You probably got him for a price that was mid to low RB2 range, if that. And now you got him. Now you got a top 5 running back locked in, and you definitely got other things. You definitely got some other things in return as well, right?
It's crazy. I traded Tony Pollard because I had my 3 running backs were Bijan, Jonathan Taylor, and Achane.
Yeah.
And then my 3 wide receivers because I traded Pollard and Ayuk for Jettis. Because I was like, these are 3 running backs. It's a keeper league. I'm not moving Jonathan Taylor or HM based off where I got him. My other wide receivers were CD, Keenan Allen, and Justin Jefferson because I traded for him. Obviously, JT goes down and Tony Pollard's been good, but now I'm the number 1 seed in this league, and now it's looking a little sketchy. So but yeah, this is the week 13 fantasy look ahead. Obviously, trade deadline has passed, so I think it's best for you and I to answer some questions. Obviously, there's a fuck ton of people on TikTok right now dropping questions.
Yeah, dude.
So keep dropping your questions. If you have any start-sit questions, what to do, how should I, I'm trying to make a playoff push or I'm already locked up for the playoffs. What's the best advice you can give? Drop them below. We'll probably put them on screen if TikTok's comments are coming through. But if not, we'll just go through here and we'll try and answer the most questions. Before we jump into it, shout out PPR Fantasy Tips on Twitter, on X, just because a lot of the things that he was saying, I thought these are some quick facts in fantasy football this year or week 12 at least. So I want to know what is the craziest fact out of these that I'm about to read that you're holy shit, or we should take stock of that. The first is Stephon Diggs hasn't seen a target share over 30% for the entire month of November.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that. It's going to bounce back.
Keaton Mitchell has set a season high in snap shares every week of his career.
I fucking love that. That's a trend that's gonna keep going. He's making the most of his carries. The fact that he's getting more snaps, more touches, it's gonna keep happening. They're winning games too.
Jamar Chase isn't a fantasy wide receiver one without Joe Burrow.
Ooh. You know, man, I haven't watched. I didn't get to watch the couple Bengals games with Jake Browning, except for that primetime one against the Ravens, which they didn't do much. I would still say he's a wide receiver one, maybe just a low end wide receiver one because he's gonna get the volume still.
This one's a dynasty one. Trade for Josh Downs in dynasty. Michael Pittman may not remain in Indianapolis, and Downs could be their future wide receiver one.
Absolutely. I don't know about future wide receiver one in terms of the guy that might be getting the most usage. Yeah, but that if Pittman goes, they're gonna find another guy that's gonna be taking the coverage out, from the defense. And Downs is always gonna be dominating underneath though, and he's a great route runner and everything like that. I love him as a dynasty play, bro. Love him for sure.
Here's a George Pickens one. George Pickens has averaged 7.2 PPR points per game since week 8. I feel like that. Why I'm saying that is because you got to leave him. I don't think you could start him right now.
You cannot.
Yeah.
And even Canada was gone. They finally got 400 yards of offense.
Yep.
And he still, I don't know.
I don't even fucking know.
I don't know if he performed last week. But
here's a crazy one. Curtis Samuel has more 100-yard games this season than Terry McLaurin.
You know what, man? That shit pisses me off. I like Samuel. Don't get me wrong. Actual fellow Brooklyn product. Shout out to Brooklyn. But I don't. Terry McLaurin is one of the most talented wide receivers in the NFL, man. Like literally, like in the offseason, when numbers aren't, we are getting skewed by like these random like big performances by different guys that like people overreact to. Terry McLaurin is always in that borderline top 10, and for some reason, I get it. Like that, Samuel's a little bit more versatile in the fact like they can put him in the backfield, play him as a running back, play him in a slot outside. But McLaurin is so talented. But as far as like fantasy, yeah, you almost have to rely on McLaurin. I mean, on Samuel more just because he gets utilized in more ways, in better ways as well.
Mike Evans has scored a touchdown in 9 of the 11 games he's played in this season.
We just talked about Mike Evans. I specifically talked about Mike Evans in a podcast episode that is going to release Friday morning. So if you're listening to this, tune into our predictions episode this upcoming week. We talk about the Eagles and Niners, which is a big game. So you got to see where we stand on that. But I talked about Mike Evans in that episode. And, dude, it doesn't get talked about enough. Mike Evans, in his first 10 years, all 1,000 yards. The first guy to ever do that, to start a career with 10 straight 1,000-yard seasons. And, man, I mean, he's a touchdown machine. We know that. He had 2 last week. The fact that he's putting on this kind of performance this year, like, we need to talk about it more. I think he's borderline top. He was a top 12 receiver last week. He scored 2 touchdowns. I'm assuming he's probably in the top 8 to 10 receivers this week.
Yeah, what I was going to say about Mike Evans is I feel like you have to, like,
I'm going to look that up.
He's a wide receiver one based off of how he's produced, right? Like,
he's going to stay there, bro.
Yeah, but wide receiver ones, when people say, like, they're a wide receiver one, it's always based off of the volume, right? It's like, are you seeing, 7 to 10 targets? Are you having 7 receptions a game? What are your numbers? Like, that's usually what the wide receiver ones can be. But I think based off of production, he's in its own category of the wide receiver one, right? Because like naturally you would say Tank Dell based off of where he's been a top 12 wide receiver since like week 6, but you're not going to say he's like a wide receiver one.
Yeah.
So I think Mike Evans has to be considered a wide receiver one just the touchdowns alone.
Yeah. Look, bro, he's wide receiver 9 on the year right now. So we're talking about week over week production. Like this isn't like, oh, he turned it up the past couple weeks because some guy was injured. Nah, week over week production. Look at from week 1 to week 3. 18, 29, 17. Then there was a bye, a couple down weeks. Week 7, 20, 12, 12, 26, 15, 25. Like, I sat Mike Evans last week and I regretted it. I should have put him on my flex. I put DeAndre Swift instead. Look, Mike Evans at this point, like you have to start him every single week. I don't care. Like he's gonna get his.
I agree. Well, those are some that was post week 12 quick facts in fantasy football. Shout out PPR fantasy tips. Go check him out on Twitter. He wrote all those and some crazy fast facts, fun facts. But let's jump into some questions, right? Like we talked about this being a Q&A type episode, helping people look towards the playoffs and how to make a last minute push to the playoffs. So let's get to some questions. Josh Pilecki on YouTube said, what are y'all's thoughts on handcuffs going into the playoffs?
Well, if you watched the Tuesday live stream of this fantasy episode or listened to it afterwards, Scott Ingle, Fantasy Football Hall
King.
of Famer, came on, and the King, and he said that handcuffs are as important as ever heading into the playoffs.
Totally.
So if you have a guy like Tony Pollard, make sure you have Rico Dowdle, or it's great if you do have him. If you have another guy like I don't know, CMC, and if you have, I guess it would be Elijah Mitchell or something like that. Tyler Algier, who has standalone value already, but if you have Bijan, like, these handcuffs are very important, especially heading into the playoffs, because if the main guy goes down, you have another guy you can insert immediately, and he's gonna get the bulk load of the carries.
Yeah, I think the way you got to look at handcuffs going into the playoffs is like if you can get 2 to 3 handcuffs on your bench, right, and then those other couple spots are guys that you can kind of put in, whether it's an extra tight end, something happens, or an extra wide receiver, like give yourself that depth, then I think you're in a good spot going into the playoffs, because you don't want to be left with lineup decisions to make, going into Sunday or going into Thursday.
It's so tough, man.
You want to have your lineup set, and then you just want to handcuff everyone else. So guys I would look at for handcuffs, the Rico Dowdles of the world, the Dearness Johnsons behind ETN, who's already battling a chest injury that can happen at any given moment. Because I think most people
What about Tank Bigsby?
I'd prefer Dearness has been getting the playing time.
Gotcha.
Dearness is someone, obviously Jerome Ford's been good. Who's the guy? But I'm trying to
Kareem Hunt?
Pierre Strong, isn't it? Because Kareem, Kareem's going to be Kareem
usage,
and I don't think he's going to get hurt. Who are some other guys? Obviously Zach Moss. Look, we just saw, right? Jonathan Taylor goes down, and now you have a backup running back there
who we know can produce, because we saw it earlier in the year.
So yeah, I think handcuffs are league winners, right? So that's the best way I would take handcuffs going into the playoffs. Here's a good one. Jay King on TikTok said Devontae Smith or Calvin Ridley this week.
So Devontae's playing the Niners. That secondary has given up a lot of yards, just giving up a lot to receivers. They're not very good, and they just lost their safety, Talanoa Hufanga, who actually isn't even good in coverage himself. So Devontae, I think I would lean towards.
Yep.
I think, like, the thing about Devontae is ever since Dallas Goedert, when Dallas Goedert is not playing, which we know he's not because he has a broken forearm or some shit, Devontae does his thing. Not just this year, but last year. That's what we were basing that off of when we said he's gonna have an uptick because of the Goddard injury, and he has. He had a big week this past week, 23 PPR points, I believe. Had a touchdown, a lot of receptions, a lot of yards. He's been hovering around 100 receiving yards every single week since Goddard's been out. So I would lean on him for a safer floor, and I still think he has the potential for a high ceiling. Whereas Ridley, the floor is higher with Zay Jones, and the ceiling, I would say, is even higher than Devontae Smith. But I think you're playing a little bit more with him rather than Devontae.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think you got to start Devontae Smith. It's close.
It's close. It is close.
I just have more confidence. What'd you say? It's a very tough one. I think it's close, but I would want to see, if I had that opportunity of choosing one or the other, I want to see one more week with Zay Jones in the lineup with Ridley. I think if Ridley does perform, bless you.
Thank you.
If let's just take their sample size of last week and both of their last weeks, even though Devontae Smith had a better performance in week 12 and Ridley, Ridley had 21.9, Devontae Smith had 23.6 in a full PPR. If Ridley does the same and Devontae does the same, I'll probably start Ridley rest of the season because Goddard eventually comes back. And he fits their alpha, right? He is their best alpha weapon, their X on offense.
Yep.
Devontae Smith's been wide receiver 8 since week 8. Calvin Ridley's been wide receiver 12.
Okay.
So I think start Devontae Smith, but we're getting close to Calvin Ridley. I think Calvin Ridley, if he performs again, if he has 8 targets and even goes for like 4 receptions for 60 yards and potentially gets a touchdown, he's a wide receiver 2, like set it and forget it type for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I feel like, that says it for itself. You talk about since week 8, I mentioned Dallas Goedert getting hurt, like, Smith's uptick is up. Ridley with Zay Jones is up. You got both of them. You're at a point where you're probably starting them both heading into these last few weeks of the season. One at flex probably, but you're probably starting them both.
Yeah, I agree. Here's a good one by Drew Klossman. I actually saw a crazy one thing I wanted to mention. Obviously Calvin Ridley's had like a bad year, right?
Yeah,
but
up to what we thought.
But on the entire season, currently in a PPR, he's wide receiver 21.
Yeah, it's still good.
So he's a top 24 still guy. He's just been volatile.
Is dope, right? Which is dope. Which is a low end wide receiver 2 at this point. But that's considering he's had really bad weeks, so that's actually really good. And we just thought that he
could have a strong
wide
finish.
receiver 1 potential.
Yeah, he could finish as one. Could have a strong finish. Here's a good one from Drew Klosterman on TikTok. He said, "I'm in a 2 quarterback league. Decide between these 3 players. Which 2 should I start? Derek Carr, Calvin Ridley, or Jaden Reed?" So my guess is
Wait,
if
2-quarterback league.
he's
Oh,
in a 2-quarterback league, but he's asking about Derek Carr, Calvin Ridley, and Jaden
so he
Reed.
probably means he's in a super flex
I
where
think
he has the ability to start a quarterback or another player.
Yeah.
And then who are these 3 guys?
Calvin Ridley, Jaden Reed, and Derek Carr.
That's okay.
It feels like it has
what
to
are
be a
Jags
super
playing
flex.
again? They're playing
The
a bad
Jags play the
team.
Bengals. Ooh, spit everywhere. Bengals on Monday night. I
On
think I go
Monday night?
Ridley, actually.
I think I go Ridley. Bro, Carr has been so bad. Like, bro, I'm in a similar situation with you. Like, next week, I have Justin Fields and Lamar Jackson on bye. And so I got Mac Jones that I'm going to probably have to put in. Like, I don't want to do it. And I never really want to put Mac Jones at flex because, like, even though quarterbacks have a safer floor, these guys just like that are underperforming, they're putting up like fucking 4 or 5 points in a week. And so I would rather bank on the upside of a Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, I mean, look, Derek Carr, quarterback will always give you the safest floor out of anyone. So I think let's keep that definitely in mind. But I think Ridley has the highest ceiling of all of them. Jaden Reed, though, has been really good, but going against a Chiefs defense, that's tough. Kyler Murray or Russell Wilson this week? Felix _ DCF.
Kyler Murray or Russ. I'm gonna go Kyler. Kyler, the Cardinals we just talked about it. They're playing who?
Steelers.
Cardinals are playing the Steelers. I'm gonna go Kyler.
I'm gonna always go Kyler. I just rushing upside, right? Like that's an easy
safer
16 to 20, depending on how he plays. And last week they only put up, I think, 8 points. Maybe they scored later on, but
the Broncos are playing.
We just did this.
I know.
The Broncos are playing.
Who are the Broncos playing?
Fuck. It's a close one too. Whatever. I think no matter what, you and I are.
I'm taking Kyler. I don't
Kyler.
care. Kyler Saunders. Felipe, a big game, pal. Good luck to Yasmang. Yeah, Yasmang. I guess you're a Seahawks fan, so.
Zach on TikTok said Ridley or Puka Nacua. It's a close one.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one. I'm gonna go Puka. Stafford's been going crazy, man. Stafford has been turning it up lately. 4 touchdowns this past week. I'm gonna go Puka.
The fear you obviously have with Puka is that we thought once Cooper Kupp came back, they'd both be able to perform. They haven't been able to perform. The one thing I will say, I'll probably lean Puka just because I think there's less mouths to feed.
Mm-hmm.
Kyron had like an absurd game last week, and I just don't think they're gonna have. I don't think he's gonna go as crazy. Like he's still a RB1.
Yeah.
So I think I'm gonna slightly lean Puka. The problem is I think at this point really has the higher ceiling. So it depends what you need.
I agree with that.
What you're starting, right?
I agree with that. I like the safe floor. I actually love that. Where was it? Okay, Prescott versus Seattle or Hurts versus 49ers. So actually, funny enough, or not funny enough because we're actually experts, Adam and I. I saw a stat yesterday about quarterbacks facing the Seattle defense. And on surface level, me looking at this, I'm going to say Prescott because he's been on a fucking tear, tearing defenses apart. But Seattle's defense has been giving opposing quarterbacks a lot of trouble. So before I find it, Adam, give your thoughts on that.
I think Dak's been incredible, but I just want Jalen I just feel safe starting Jalen. I know he's going to get a tush push at some point. Easy points there, rushing upside. I'm going to go Jalen. I also don't mind if you want to start Dak. Like, I'm not going to sit here and rip that apart, but I'm going to go Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen Hurts is the type of guy that you set it and forget it no matter what. I wouldn't want to have these 2 quarterbacks on my team because I don't want to make that decision.
So this is what the Seahawks have done versus quarterbacks in fantasy since week 4. Sam Howell is the only one that's been good, 24.2. Other than that, Joe Burrow, 14.6. Lamar Jackson, 11.9. Brock Purdy, 11.5. Josh Dobbs, 11.1. Daniel Jones, 10.7. Matthew Stafford, 10.1.
Didn't Brock just have a good game, though, on Thanksgiving?
Purdy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably. I don't know how he performed.
Yeah, he had 26.7.
Okay, so
he had a good game.
Outside of that, Stafford, like I said, 10.7. PJ Walker, 6.4. So in those, like obviously one of the Purdy games, 11.5.
Yep.
And then other good quarterbacks, Matthew Stafford, 10.7. Joe Burrow, 14.6. Lamar Jackson, a guy who has rushing ability, 11.9. And Josh Dobbs, a guy who has been really good this year, 11.1. So they've been playing really well against really good quarterbacks.
Yep.
And so, making a lot of quarterbacks play at their floor. I would probably lean towards Hurts against the Niners defense because of the stats. I think Dak can overcome that, but I'd rather bank on Hurts over Dak.
I agree. Here's a good question I want to get to on TikTok. YSL said, Zach Moss, Devontae Smith, or Tank Dell in the flex spot.
Oh yes, that's good. Zach Moss. I mean, Taylor's not playing this week, right?
Nope, he's going to be out for like 2 to
And
and they said 2 to 3 weeks. But if you look like a lot of these Twitter doctors, ex-doctors, I don't even know what we're supposed to call them.
Yeah.
They say this injury could take like 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Which honestly, as someone who has Jonathan Taylor in 3 of my 6 leagues, like that worries the shit out of me because I'm in the playoffs in all those. So
Floor, I'm gonna go Moss.
I think you got to go Moss.
Ceiling, I'm gonna go Devontae Smith.
It depends who you like, what your team looks like, right? Because I think if I have to start one without knowing your team, I think I go Zach Moss. I think running backs
that way.
have the easiest way
Agreed.
of getting points. They're touching the ball no matter what.
Yeah.
Right? A wide receiver has to earn it. A wide receiver has to get open. A running back, they're just handing it off. So it's very simple. I think I'm going to go Zach Moss. I totally agree with you. I think Devontae or even Tank has the higher ceiling than Zach. But
yeah,
what's easier? Can Zach Moss get 2 touchdowns because he's inside the 5-yard line against the Titans, or Tank Dell or Devontae going off for like 100?
I like the safe play there. But I will say, if you want the combination of safe and go big, I would say it's Devontae. Tank Dell, you're kind of going boom or bust.
Yeah.
I would stay away from Tank and choose between the two.
Got a ton of people in the comments, both on YouTube and on TikTok. As a reminder, this is the Fantasy Week 13 Look Ahead episode. Myself and Felipe, obviously, we're part of 4 other guys on Caps Off. If you're new here,
well, 2 other guys,
4 other, yeah,
4 total
two.
guys.
Yeah, no, math is hard. There's 4 of us, and we're just guys that talk a bunch of shit about football and whatnot. We obviously do 2 fantasy episodes a week, so make sure to listen to our Tuesday episode if you wanted to listen to anything more about what to do going into the playoffs.
Nice.
On Sunday, we also are doing answering a lot of fantasy questions and then doing watch-alongs. But keep dropping your questions. A lot of people coming in. Drop, start, sits, anything what to do going into the playoffs. Any question applies now that we're already have the deadline passed for a lot of people. Here's a good question from Adebayo, from my boy Bam. Thoughts on Amari Cooper with Joe Flacco taking first-team reps all week and DTR still in concussion protocol?
Flacco did support Wilson last year, so I have some hope.
He
did. Garrett Wilson did play better with Flacco. That's a fact.
I think it's a best-case scenario, actually. I think he's the best quarterback on that roster. I would say in order, Joe, PJ Walker, DTR. DTR is the worst because what you're relying on is a rookie to read a defense. And Amari has shown that no matter who the quarterback is, if it's PJ Walker, obviously if it was Deshaun, that he'd perform. I feel better about Amari if Joe Flacco's the starting quarterback. If I have Amari Cooper in fantasy, yes, you're obviously rooting for Amari to have a good week, but I think like this is your best case scenario moving into the playoffs because they signed Joe. It felt like, well, why would you sign Joe if you're not going to play him? He's obviously a veteran. He's going to get, there's going to be some growing pains there, but I feel more confident with Joe Flacco as a quarterback for Amari.
Yeah, you said it all. I totally agree. Amari Cooper's the type of guy that's going to get he's a good route runner. Like, you just got to see him. Joe Flacco's going to get him the ball.
Here's a good one. Brody Jack on TikTok said, who should I start, Jaden Reed or Christian Kirk in my flex? That's a tough one. That's a really tough one.
I feel like you've been following the Packers a little more closely than I have. So, like, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think gut tells me Christian Kirk. Obviously, Ridley's been good, but with Zay Jones in the lineup, it's weird because Zay Jones is now going deep. Calvin Ridley's being able to run some of these in routes and breaking routes, I would say, that Christian Kirk would run. My gut tells me Christian Kirk, but I think because it's against the Chiefs and it could be a high-powered game, the fact that Jaden Reed can do it both ways, I might want to start Jaden Reed. I think like just what he's been able to provide, he's getting targeted in multiple ways. Christian Kirk is everything in the slot. So I'm going to slightly lean Jaden Reed because I think he's the ceiling, but I think Christian Kirk's the floor.
Got it. Yo, Kyler Saunders. Yo, I'm so sorry, bro. You're an Eagles fan. I have seen you, man. We get so many comments and so many people call me an idiot. Some of them blend in. So Kyler Saunders, I have seen your name. I'm gonna mark that down. You're an Eagles fan. I do remember that. So big game for us next week. Big game for you this week. Big game for us next week. Shout out to you. Shout out to the Eagles. Even though
I feel like I didn't give it like a total answer. I'm gonna start Christian Kirk. But if you want like the ceiling, then you go Jaden Reed. If you want the floor, you go Christian Kirk. But I would probably start Christian Kirk.
How do you guys feel about Achane moving forward?
Yeah, so I just moved. You want to
shout out Alex Graciani. He's also a constant.
You want to touch on this? You want me to
go ahead?
Well, I just traded Achane. Yeah, I just traded Achane in fantasy. If you're locked up for the playoffs, you're fine with Achane moving forward, right? I think no matter what, they're going to be cautious with him. Especially against the Commanders, like he could play, but it just doesn't make any sense. If you have aspirations to make a run in the playoffs, why would you try and put your best players in harm's way? And I know the counter is, well, they want the 1 seed. They want to, obviously, seeding matters. I get seeding matters, but there's also a part of me, and I want to know your thoughts, that like teams just, it doesn't matter about seeding. Like it does, but it doesn't. Because if a team's going into playoffs, you're like, any given Sunday, we're going to go in and beat this team. Like you're not looking at it being like, we want the bye, we want the bye, we want the bye. Because at this point, you get to the playoffs, like, give me the best, right? These players want to compete against the best. Yeah. So I just don't think that is enough of an argument to say they're going to play HN and ride him. That's why I think HN will be fine if you're in the playoffs. I think he's going to get those touches. But I think where he was trending based off of how he was performing over that 3-game sample size was to see anywhere from 10 to 15 carries because he was the most talented running back there. I don't think you're going to get that. Is my point.
Yeah, I disagree with you in terms of the seeding because I think a team, especially a team like Miami, you want to get home field in the playoffs.
Yes, that I agree with.
Especially when it's cold out. Okay, Tua doesn't want to be in no cold situation. So because of that, then I would say they would want to fight for a higher seed and try to lock in at least a couple games of home field and potentially get a bye if they could do that. And so playing your best players would be good. But I agree with you when it comes to HN. Like even if they are going all out, a guy like HN who has been dealing with a little bit of injury, like you want him to be full strength, regardless of what seed you have going into the playoffs. You just want him to be good.
That's kind
when
of
he's good
point.
to go.
Yeah.
You want him to go. So I agree with you. I don't think you're going to have that same ceiling that you had with him early on.
The other parts of it, they're not going to put him on IR because they only have one IR spot to bring back because obviously you only have 8 on the year to bring someone back, and they've already used 7 of their IR. So I think they're going to keep that one open to bring for like if something were to happen over these next 2-3 weeks for a playoff run. So that's my thoughts there. Here's a good one from D on TikTok. Start 2 out of ETN, Zach Moss, and Devin Singletary.
ETN, Zach Moss, and Devin Singletary. I'm going ETN and Moss.
I think you do. Yeah. Look, obviously Singletary's been good. He wasn't as good this past week, but the last 2 weeks prior,
it was good, really good. Yeah.
But Dameon Pierce did come back, and they both had 6 carries and 5 carries. Now I think it was a game script thing. I think Singletary's probably going to be the RB1 there, but it's more of a 1A than it's a 1A 1B rather than a 1 and a 2.
Yeah.
I think you got to go Zach Moss and ETN.
Yo, how about Lil Swizz Beats? How we feel about Charbonnet tonight? I'll start with that. Obviously, I'm a huge Charbonnet guy. I have Charbonnet. I drafted him in Dynasty in the second round of my rookie draft, and I was really excited about him going forward. I always said if Walker goes down, Charbonnet will be that guy. The problem is that that happened, which is awesome. But the problem is that when that did happen, it's towards the end, obviously the back end of the Seahawks schedule this season, and they have a tough road ahead when it comes to just matchups for running backs. They're playing a lot of good defenses. This past week, they ran into a buzzsaw. The 49ers obviously fucking destroyed them. Even Charbonnet being versatile, you're able to use him in the rushing game and the receiving game. Even still, he didn't go off. And this week you're playing Dallas. And look, Dallas right now, they're playing just as good as anybody. They're playing just as dominant as the Niners are. And if you had a chance against anybody who was a divisional opponent, I think Dallas is going to really run it up against the Seahawks on Thursday Night Football. And that's not going to be good for Charbonnet's rushing. Maybe he gets a little bit more involved in the receiving game, but I just don't think he's going to do much of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think because
I wouldn't start him. My answer is I wouldn't
depends
start
who else you have, because I think he's a volume play.
He's a volume play, but I think even at volume, he might max out. He might max out at 10 to 12, which you're okay with if you put him at flex.
My issue is I don't know which Seahawks team we're getting, right? Because the first 5 weeks of the season, we knew they were going to get inside the red zone. They were going to be able to convert. Kenneth Walker would score these touchdowns. He's a bruiser, Zach Charbonnet. So depending on who else you have, I don't mind. Obviously the Cowboys defense is incredible. I don't mind starting Zach Charbonnet only because of volume, right? To me, he's like an RB2, a low-end RB2 with some upside because he might get the bulk load of carries. He reminds me of what Jerome Ford's kind of been, right? A guy that can break a few runs potentially here and there. Pete Carroll loves to run the ball.
Yeah. Look, dude, if the Seahawks are playing anybody else, if they're not playing a top defense like this, I would love Charbonnet. I would say he's a low-end RB1 or even mid RB1. But it's just these matchups are just so difficult. And the Seahawks are a lot worse than we thought. And Geno is playing worse than we thought. And so it's everything is just against Charbonnet right now.
Here's a good question from Michael Martinez on TikTok. He said, should I start George Kittle or Sam Laporta? He's 10-2. The second is 8-4. So a 2-game lead. Most playoffs are going to start in 3 weeks, right? So these are the last 2 weeks of the season. So I think what he's kind of saying is he could pretty much wrap up maybe a bye is my assumption. I'm going George Kittle. I think George Kittle, to me, he's He's exceeded expectations this year.
Oh, by far.
He's like a guy.
He's been consistent now.
In another one of our takes, to be honest, early on in the tight ends, that like he was viewed as probably like tight end 4, 5, or even 6, depending, right? Waller was drafted. Waller got hurt. Obviously, Mark Andrews goes down. He was drafted around like right after TJ Hawkinson. There's only 2, in my opinion, tight ends that could have gone for 35 on any given week, and that was Kelsey and George Kittle.
Yeah.
We just have seen it. I'm starting George Kittle over Sam Laporta.
I am too.
Higher ceiling.
I am too. So you said it all.
All right.
How about this little Swizz? Do I start Charbonnet or James Conner? So we just talked about Charbonnet. James Conner is the Cardinals. We just Steelers, right? Playing the Steelers?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Conner a lot, like week over week, on a regular basis. Let me check in on Conner though, how he's been doing.
He hasn't been great. He was
the
terrible
past couple
week.
weeks.
He had like
was he terrible?
Point. Yeah, he was bad. He was really bad.
In that case, look, man, it's tough. Even though I said everything I did about Charbonnet, like I said, I still could see him. I still see him getting 10 to 12. So it depends. Do you think James Conner can get 10 to 12? If so, then he probably has a slightly higher ceiling. But I think the safer, maybe just because the volume will be there and the pass catching will be there, I probably would go maybe Charbonnet. It's tough though. I don't love choosing.
I'm gonna go again. I'm gonna slightly lean Charbonnet only because I don't want to see volume because James Conner is gonna get the volume. What are you laughing about over there, Condo? You're laughing about something. You'd rather start James Conner? I think I'd rather start Zach Charbonnet. I'll take the chance, right? Like his second week, having the volume. I'll start Charbonnet. It's really close, though. It is definitely really close. Here's a really good one. We got to help him out. Matt Lunsford on TikTok. You ready?
Yeah.
He has to win to make the playoffs. Noah Brown or T. Higgins, Stafford or Kyler. So we'll start with Noah Brown or T. Higgins.
Oh, fuck me. Noah Brown or T?
Both dealing with injuries.
T? And then Stafford.
I'll be honest, I don't even know if he plays.
Well, if he doesn't play, then they should.
But he plays Monday night, and I don't think you can wait. I don't think you can wait. I think you got to start Noah Brown.
That's the case. Well, there you go. Then you start Noah.
But I also think Noah Brown was on the injury report this week.
Real quick before we even get that answered, I'm looking at James Conner's last 3 weeks, bro. 7.3, 8.3, 7.2. I'm going with Charbonnet for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, it depends. If you have someone else, here's how I would do it. If you have someone else, maybe put T. Higgins in the flex. If you have another player from that Bengals game and maybe you play them, right? If you want the ceiling, if you're like, fuck, I'm going to lose. I'm going up against someone. I need the highest ceiling. I think T. Higgins is the ceiling. I don't think he plays. He's missed 3 games with the hamstring.
I don't think you can risk that.
They're not like what they are playing for nothing. I don't see the logic of like him for sure coming back. So I'm going to go Noah Brown. Don't feel great about it. He did practice yesterday. Stafford or Kyler? What are you doing? I think I got to go
Kyler versus Pitt and Stafford versus
the Browns.
Cleveland. Yeah, I got to go matchup. Man. I got to go Kyler. The Browns defense is right now playing like the best defense in the league, even though they don't get the same shine. They don't get the same shine because they don't have an offense on the other side of the ball that's able to turn what the defense does into points. But that defense is disgusting, and so I like Kyler better. DeAndre Swift or Jaylen Warren? That Niners, look, man, the Niners not great against the pass, great against the run. I think I lean Warren over Swift. I lean
Warren too. I think Warren's the type of guy that's going to be lower on the rankings, but DeAndre Swift's obviously going to be higher. But like Jaylen Warren, he's an electrifying machine, right? He's one of those guys where he reminds me of the Tony Pollard Zeke of last year, where Tony Pollard was unleashed over the second half of the season. Jaylen Warren's going to do that, and him and Najee have both been producing. I'm going to lean slightly Jaylen Warren only because I could see this type of game, like them rotating running backs. Like they've been trying to keep Swift, healthy for the
That's the thing, bro. If it's talent, like DeAndre Swift is that motherfucker. If they rode him 20 fucking times a game, gave him 25 touches, he'd be a top 5 running back, like undoubtedly. Like he's so talented, but they're not doing that because they don't need to. They have other guys that can come in, and they would rather keep Swift fresh. They know that they're going to be in the playoffs. They know that they will likely have home field and stuff like that. And so they're protecting these guys. And I get it, right? It's annoying for fantasy, but I get it. Shout out to Felix though. I don't know how he went from Felix DCFL 999 to Felix _ DCFL and no nines.
Change his name just
you
now.
Change your name like mid live stream, which is pretty cool, I guess. But we just answered your DeAndre Swift for Jaylen Warren question. But second comment, he says, by the way, thanks boys, went from 0-3 from the beginning of the season, But now I'm 7-5, third place in my fantasy, thanks to you guys. We said it in the beginning of this pod, man. We've been helping people out. That's dope to see. If we helped you out, let us know. It makes us feel good. It gives us a little warmth in our heart.
We're big gonad guys, as Jack would say. We really feel it in the plums, and we rock with that.
Yeah, well, I like that because you said we fill in our plums and rock with that. It's like rock. Yeah.
Not following.
Erection.
No erections. 292 people on TikTok right now, so we're going to keep this rolling. As a reminder, this is the Week 13 Fantasy Look Ahead episode. We release 5 episodes a week, 2 of which are fantasy, 3 of which are just regular football talk. Predictions come out tomorrow. Wednesday, our little games cafeteria. On Monday, our recaps. So if you are new here, if you're just coming across this from the For You page, make sure to check us out. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that follow button wherever you are, and just check out our content. See if you like it, see if you resonate with that.
Did you tell them to listen to our pod?
Did I? I feel like I said that.
You might have. I was reading a question.
Hey,
if he said it already, go listen to our podcast, man. Link in bio, podcast, Apple, Spotify. Go catch us, man.
Jason Tuma, this is a good one, said pick 2, Rachaad White, Joe Mixon, and Javonte Williams for this week. So let's say Rachaad White.
You're a big Rachaad White guy.
I think you have to. Volume has been there. He's been like a floor of 12 points the last 6 weeks.
So now we're in between Mixon and who?
Rachaad White's been the RB2 since week 8.
Okay, you got to go Rachaad.
So Rachaad
Mixon and who?
Joe Mixon or Javonte Williams.
Ugh. How did Williams do? I know he came back strong from the injury.
He was good.
How did he do this past week?
Over the last 4 weeks, he's the RB21. Since week 8, he's RB21.
Yeah, I feel like Mixon's been better than that though.
He has been better. He had back-to-back games in PPR, 18.8 points, 21 points, and then the last 2 weeks for Javonte Williams, 7.3, 10.1. I think you got
Mixon.
I think you have to go Mixon.
Ride trends, bro. You got to ride trends. Also, Browning's at quarterback for the Bengals. Mixon's gonna get his touches.
But the Jags have a good rush defense. They were think about what the Texans were just able to do.
Yeah, but Mixon's getting these 1-yard punch-ins, bro.
I'm gonna go Mixon just because the quarterback kind of conundrum there. Javonte, I think he's been getting the volume, but we those 2 weeks he had 2 receiving touchdowns. So I want to see touchdowns on the ground. They're using Samaje Perine, so that definitely worries me. I'm gonna go Joe Mixon and Rachaad White.
Yo, Zach Wroblewski. That's a hell of a name, my guy.
Wroblewski. Oh.
Yeah, it's nice, huh?
Lebowski.
Start or sits for my wide receivers. I have Debo, Mike Evans, Michael Pittman, Adam Thielen, and Christian Kirk. I'm 6-6 and need one. So you're 6-6. Nice. You're probably right in the running for the playoffs, right? Probably in the 5 or 6, 7 spot. So start or sits at receiver. I'm starting Mike Evans.
Mike Evans is for sure the person.
That's the guy I'm definitely starting in that. Kind of Pittman's playing this week against Tennessee. I think I like Pittman. Thielen. Look, the thing is, Thielen was getting heavy volume. Even against that, I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna go Mike Evans, Adam Thielen because of volume, and then I'm between Pittman and Debo. I'm gonna go Pittman because I know he's gonna get more volume than Debo.
Yeah.
Yeah, but against Dallas, he had fucking 10 2 weeks ago.
So if it's 2 wide receivers, I think I'm going
tough.
Mike Evans, Mike Pittman. I'm going the Mike duo. Pittman is just a volume play. I love Thielen, but we knew, again, another one of our calls, if you were listening in week 7, he was always a sell high candidate. He was going he's not going to be a wide receiver 1. Over the last, since week 8, he's wide receiver 38 on the year. He's only had since week 8, he's only had in PPR more than 15 points twice. So 2 and 5. I'm going to go Michael Pittman. If you need to start 3, though, I'll go Mike Evans, Mike Pittman, Adam Thielen. If you want the sexy play, it's Debo just because there's gas there, right? They've been talking shit. They're going to give him touches. But the problem is Debo as a pure wide receiver is wide receiver 42 since week 8.
Yeah.
And on the year, I want to pull this up.
So he's even worse than Thielen since week 8.
Worse, yeah.
And Thielen had a better start to the year.
Debo on the year is wide receiver 39, just as a wide receiver. Now, granted, he's a utility piece, so he's getting touches. But I just don't want to start that. If I'm starting a wide receiver, then I want to go for volume.
Let me apologize to Michael Pittman, and apologize to Condo. Michael Pittman's been great. He's been great. He's wide receiver 12 on the year, and there shouldn't even be a conversation between Pittman and Thielen. Just his last games, 20, 16, 14, 18, 16, 19. Come on, bro. You got to start Pittman and Mike Evans. Those are you 2 that you lock in absolutely. Then I would be between, and then I would go probably Thielen.
Yep.
More touchdown
agree with that.
upside with no JT. Shout out to Kondo, producer Kondo, who gave us that nugget. And Michael Pittman is that motherfucker. Yo, Michael Gust, shout out to you, bro. Just want to say you guys were my number one podcast on Spotify. Love you guys, bro. That's really awesome to
Hey,
hear.
Spotify Wrapped, Apple Wrapped.
Nah, fuck Apple. Adam's an Apple guy. But nah, most of the world is Spotify because most of the world is cool, obviously, unlike Adam.
Facts.
And yo, if you're on Twitter, or I know you're commenting on YouTube, if you're on Twitter or Instagram or something like that, screenshot that, tag us in a story. We'll repost it wherever you tag us. We'll repost it, dude. We love that. We had somebody else show us yesterday, Rivs, actually.
Shout out.
Number one on hers. So pretty dope. Pretty dope. Shout out to you, man. Thanks for being a listener.
Yeah, appreciate it. Darius said, pick 2, Devon Achane, Tony Pollard, Kyron Williams, or Alvin Kamara. This is a good one.
You're going to have to re-say that.
Achane,
Yeah.
Pollard, Kyron, Kamara.
Pollard and Kamara.
So I think let's start by saying this. Achane is not in consideration here. Just because I don't know if he's actually going to play. I don't know what volume that's going to look like.
Pollard's my one guy there, though.
I think I go Pollard and Kyron. But the problem with Kamara is I think they're going to miss Rashid Shaheed. I think Chris Olave is going to be out because of the concussion.
He gets his volume, bro. My guy
There's
gets so many targets.
But he's only had like 3 touchdowns this year.
I don't care. He's going to get volume.
I think I got to go Kyron and Pollard. Kyron's been incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. Against the Browns, though, that's the fear.
That's different. I went Kyler Murray over Stafford because of matchup, and I might. This also makes me want to go away from Kyron because of matchup.
Who do the Saints play again? We talked about this. They're hosting someone at home that we said could easily lose. Like they could easily beat them. Fuck.
They should lose, but they could win.
I'm gonna tell
it's
you.
One
right
of those
now.
weeks.
Yep.
They're playing the Lions. I like Kamara, bro. Kamara's gonna get volume. He's gonna get fucking 10 targets, bro.
I think you got it. I actually.
Pollard and Kamara.
You break the tiebreaker because I said Kyron. He said Kamara. Who are you starting? Who's producer Kondo? You're not starting Pollard. I think you got to start Pollard.
Not Pollard at this point is showing you, bro.
You got to start Pollard, bro.
Like even with, bro. Hold up. I was correct on Michael Pittman. Now you about to be correct on Tony Pollard, producer Kondo. Let me pull this up for you, bro.
You want? I can back you up with some stacks.
All right, well, hold up. I got it right now, though.
Go crazy.
Even look, 21.3 last week, 18 the week before, and we know that he was slow the weeks before that. Guess what? Even with that, he's RB11 on the year, bro. He's still been getting his. Like even down weeks for him were like 9 points. I think we're gonna be getting more of the 18 and 21s, especially in these matchups that favor them. Like the Cowboys are going to be playing from ahead most likely, and they're going to be giving Pollard touches like they have the past few weeks. I'm going to go Pollard for sure.
RB2 since week 11.
RB2 since week 11.
Now it's only 2 week sample size, but that sample size, like he's looked like the Tony Pollard that we thought he would be. I got to start Tony Pollard.
You're a hater, producer Kondo.
Yeah. You have great options.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. Maybe start all 3 of those guys and take whoever you have at the flex out. If it's a wide receiver, you just know those guys are going to get volume. Logan on TikTok, he said, I need to beat this guy to get the number 2 seed, and I need to know if I start Josh Downs or Noah Brown. I think it's Josh Downs.
Downs going to get volume too.
Yeah. Josh Downs also had a quiet 12 targets last week.
Yeah.
Like he's been good, and he obviously went down with the knee injury. He then came back, only played like 30% of the snaps. Josh Downs is another type of rookie I think could be a league winner, only because if you had him, you probably picked him up off waiver wires, and he's someone that by the end of the year or by the playoff run could be one of those flex guys that you could start moving forward, right? The type of run that Tank Dell almost went on type of situation, because he was good when he was healthy. He was starting to get hot.
Yeah, the problem with Downs is that like the ceiling isn't very high. I kind of feel similarly.
But we haven't seen the ceiling yet.
I don't know if we will. I think we have, because I don't know if there is another. Like, I think he's super talented. I just think it's a similar issue with Zay Flowers. Like, he's gonna get targets. He's gonna get his.
That's a fair comparison.
I just don't know. I don't see him breaking 100. Like, I don't know. But yeah,
I'm gonna pull up his stats right now, because I think he's been pretty mediocre. But I'm going Josh Downs over Noah. That's what
I do too. I think he has a safer floor.
Who are you sitting? Dingleberry. Shout out Dingleberries.
I love Dingleberry.
Said, who are you sitting? Najee Harris, Tony Pollard, David Montgomery. I think I got to go Najee.
Who are we sitting?
Najee, Montgomery, or Tony Pollard.
I like all of those guys, man. I think Najee, I like him this week too, but I'm going to sit Najee too. Yeah, but I like him. You're probably starting Najee. Most people that have Najee are probably starting him.
Cooper Kupp or Christian Kirk at the flex. This is from No. on TikTok. What are you doing?
Oh, I was
Christian
so
Kirk
distracted.
or Cooper Cup?
Christian, I was reading it, but we got multiple
so
questions on
many
screen. You're
streams.
talking to me, and then I'm reading that. Christian Kirk, Christian Kirk or Cooper Kirk. I'm going Cooper Cup. Healthy.
You got to go the ceiling. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going the ceiling every time. Calvin Ridley, Josh Downs, or Deontay Johnson. This is from Casual Fan Collectibles on TikTok.
Or like picking one.
I think it's pick one. Yeah.
Calvin Ridley, Josh Downs.
You gotta go Ridley.
You gotta go Ridley because I think even with Zay Jones, like we've seen, he's got a pretty good floor with Zay Jones playing, and his ceiling is higher than Downs. So I gotta go that. As far as the other guy, Deontay Johnson, he's been ass.
If you just take averages, we went over this obviously on the Tuesday pod. If you just take averages of the top 12 wide receivers in the NFL in fantasy this year, and you only take the sample size of Calvin Ridley when Zay Jones is healthy, he's wide receiver 6 on the year. That's over a 6-game sample size, I believe it is. So,
which is a good amount. How about this? Half PPR, need 2 running backs: Jerome Ford, Najee Harris, Devin Singletary, Devon Achane. Half PPR.
It's tough because, again, I think we need a lot of context. Is it a must win? Are you going up against a guy that has CMC and fucking AJ Brown type nonsense? Are you going up against, what are you going up against? And what does your team look like outside of that? Because I think it's really important to know. Do you need floor plays? Do you need ceiling plays? Do you just need to swing for the fences? In one of my leagues, in order to make the playoffs as a 7 seed, it's only points for. Has nothing to do with record. So you could be literally 1-8 and then still make the playoffs because you just have the most points for. So
I like that rule, actually.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, because it's so fucked when
you just don't play good enough defense all year. It's not your fault.
It's not your fault at all.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to go the one guy, I'm going to go in order. I'm going to take Najee for sure. I'm definitely starting Najee. I like Najee every week, man. Like I know Jalen Warren's been getting his, but so is Najee. They're both starts. And then after that, you mentioned Achane. Is he's healthy this week?
They say he's probably going to play, but I don't know. I don't know.
So you're probably going Jerome Ford? I'm probably going Najee and Ford, bro.
I think you have to. I just don't know what to trust out of Achane, right? Like I got burned on Achane in one of my leagues because I started him and then he obviously got hurt. I think a lot of people got burned, right? So I just want to see it. We're going to be in wrapping up. We're going to do a couple more questions. Obviously, it's been going on for a long time. If you have any more fantasy questions, any more start sits, tonight at 5 o'clock, all right? That's 5 o'clock Eastern. That's in like 7 hours right here, again, on TikTok, on YouTube, wherever you want to find it, wherever you want to consume the content. We're going to be doing strictly start sits for an hour. So obviously, this has been a lot more in-depth questions. That at 5 o'clock is going to be more, I'm starting this person or starting that person, a lot quicker, a lot shooting from the hip. So set your reminders, 5 p.m. tonight Eastern, start sits. If you have more start sit questions, we'll do a few more. Mike Evans or Jalen Waddle this week?
Evans.
Easy. Yeah, I'd probably go Mike Evans too, but Jalen Waddle against the Commander is not a bad start.
That's cool. Maybe start both, but Mike Evans, you're not even thinking about at this point. You got to start him.
Gavin Etzler on TikTok says, pick 2, Dak, Tua, or CJ Stroud.
Who's Tua playing?
Commanders.
Yeah.
CJ Stroud. The Texans are playing. Fuck.
The Texans are playing. They have a good matchup. They're playing.
I'm going to tell you right now who they're playing.
I want to say it's a Cali team.
No, they're not playing the
Texans. Aren't playing the Jets.
Broncos.
I knew it was a West Coast team.
I'm going Dak. I'm just going to go Dak. I think Tua's in the best bounce back spot. I'd probably rank it to Dak, Tua, Stroud.
Okay. Yeah. That's tough. So I don't think you can really go wrong. Like I was saying before, if you weren't here, the Seahawks defense has been good against quarterbacks, but Dak has been insane the past few weeks. So, and Purdy just had a good week. I would go Dak and on
our list we have Dak at QB2 and Tua at QB3. CJ Stroud at QB5.
I'll go Dak and Tua.
Oh, that's
the thing is like you got good options, bro. You got good options.
Matthew Crosley on TikTok said must-win game to maintain the first seed. Dak or Herbert. I think you got to go Dak.
Who do the Chargers play?
New England. At New England. Yeah, that's a Dak game. That's a Dak.
Yeah, bro. I mean, the Patriots are ass, but their defense is good. And Belichick plays well coaches well against quarterbacks. Probably Dak. I like Dak. Connor, can you scroll up? I think there was one more from like Will D or some shit. Did I miss his? Yeah, right there. Will D, which means like he will D anyone. Like D, like not like defend, but like you could give that D. Flex Mixon or Rashee Rice full PPR. Mixon. I like Rashee Rice a lot. I'm gonna go Mixon though.
I think I agree. I agree.
Yeah,
Nice, dude. Good shit.
It makes it gonna get his volume.
Should we find one more question?
There's a couple more on YouTube
Oh,
though.
okay,
Let's,
here
let's
we
get
go,
these last two on YouTube. The last couple on YouTube. Start Herbert or Trevor Lawrence. I'm starting Lawrence this week. I know they're playing.
You've been
Like I
good.
said, Herbert's playing the Patriots. I don't love that matchup for him. Lawrence is playing a team that they should smoke.
Cincinnati on Monday night.
Cincinnati. They should smoke Cincinnati because Cincinnati doesn't have their quarterback and they should do their thing. Start PPR. Start two wide receivers. Half PPR. Start two wide receivers. Micah Gust. Shout out Micah Parsons. Tyler Lockett. Oh, that disappeared. I lost it, Micah. My bad. Okay. Tyler Lockett, Amari Cooper, Garrett Wilson, Hollywood Brown, Rashid Rice, and Rashid Shaheed.
Okay.
Whew. I don't like these, man.
Yeah,
I don't
this
like
is-
none of
this
these
is
motherfuckers.
tough.
Because Tyler Lockett's playing a great defense and a great cover defense. Like, they're going to play good against receivers. But I still think Lockett can find his way underneath. I'm assuming Deron Bland is going to be on Metcalf. Stephon Gilmore is going to be on. Nah, he's going to be on Lockett. Ugh.
The crazy thing is, all these wide receivers are like in the wide receiver 24 to like 29 range.
Yeah, that's
right?
why I
Like,
don't
they're all
like-
like low end wide receiver 2s to like wide receiver 3s.
Fuck it, dude.
Let's go Lockett. Thinking that it's, I think you have to go Lockett because you have to assume maybe high scoring, like a guy that can score. Out of just all those, I
like
feels-
Cooper. I like Amari Cooper with Joe Flacco, though.
So I'm going Tyler Lockett.
Who are
Amari
the Jets
Cooper.
playing again?
The Falcons.
I'm going Amari Cooper, Garrett Wilson, bro. I hate this.
I
Fuck
think-
you, dude. Fuck you, Micah.
I think I gotta go Amari and Tyler Lockett. I know they're playing the Cowboys, but it could be a high scoring game.
Yeah, you know what? Safer plays, Tyler, bro.
Garrett,
if you
I
want to just
just-
ride talent and just what we know, go
I did
Tyler
pick
Lockett.
the Jets this week, but I just don't trust it. All right, time for one more question. This is from Lauren Jacobson on TikTok. She said Tyler Lockett or Noah Brown must win week to make the playoffs.
Tyler Lockett or Noah Brown.
I gotta go Tyler Lockett, bro.
Yeah,
I
you
know
gotta
Noah
go
had a couple
Tyler-
good games, but that was correct me if I'm wrong. Nico Collins was out, so like he stepped into that like wide receiver 2 role.
He was.
I gotta go Lockett.
But
They're
he's
both
a
wide.
top 10 PFF wide receiver,
Facts.
which means he's actually been playing well at the position. I'm gonna go Lockett, man. Y'all, I get why you guys are asking it because clearly it's tough for you to make a decision, and obviously it's tough for us to make a decision. But it's difficult, man. It's difficult. Shout out to y'all.
Shout out. Hey, 245 people still here watching us on TikTok. Obviously, a ton on
How
YouTube
many on
as
YouTube?
well. Look, we appreciate
Can we
you
see?
guys.
Can you
all
see,
right?
Fernando? Do
On
you have
YouTube
that
right now,
answer?
there's 9. It's a good 9.
Yeah,
It's a
but they were
solid
coming
9.
with the questions though.
Some good questions. As a reminder, if you have more start sit questions, obviously there's a ton of people on TikTok right now. Set your reminder for 5 o'clock tonight. We'll be doing this exact same thing, but just consistent start sits. Who are you starting? Not as much in depth. So we're going to be able to answer all your questions
Bingo.
at 5 o'clock tonight Eastern.
Cinco de la
Set your
tarde.
reminder on TikTok, 5 o'clock tonight. Also, predictions episode drops tomorrow.
Sí,
Where we're
sí.
predicting all the games. 3 of us are within like 1 game of each other,
Sí,
which
sí,
is
sí.
crazy.
Las predicciones.
Predicciones. And then Sunday, we'll be doing a pregame show and then a watch along for, I think, Niners Eagles at 4:25. So make sure to tune into that.
San
That's gonna be a fun
Francisco
one.
y
We're gonna-
Philadelphia.
We're both rooting for the Eagles to lose.
Philadelphia.
Yep. Philadelphia. Sí, se puede.
Philadelphia cheese.
But yeah, this was good. This was
You like
fun.
cream cheese?
It's all right.
It's
I do-
phenomenal.
I like cream cheese, but I also like it's one of those types of food where you think of the word and you're just like creamed cheese and it's just like
I've never done that. I've
I do
never,
that so
that's-
many
the
times.
thinking of the words have never turned me off in my life. That's weird.
hamburger. A ham burger.
Now you did it. See that is
It's
fucked
weird.
up.
It's weird.
That's fucked up. Actually,
It's-
now I don't
it's
like it
fucked up.
anymore.
I
I'm just
eat
gonna
cream
stick with
cheese. Don't
burger.
get me wrong. I put it on my bagels, but I just think it's like a weird way to like think about it. A
But what's wrong with
French.
cream though? The
Nothing.
hamburger's weird because it's like now is it ham or is
Nothing.
it
It's just
beef?
like it's.
It's not
creamy-
wrong with
creamy-
cream cheese though.
It's just like creamy cheese.
that's totally fine.
I agree. I'm just saying it's weird. I'm not saying it to discredit what it can do on the field. I'm just
Some
saying
people
like,
love cream.
I agree. It's like Tyler Lockett, bro. Nah, it's a higher ceiling than Tyler Lockett. It's also a higher floor.
Cream
than
cheese
Tyler
is phenomenal,
Lockett.
especially on a bagel. God damn it.
Yeah.
Woo!
All right. Well, hey, we'll see you at 5 o'clock tonight. Make sure to set your reminders. More start sits.
Go listen to our
And,
podcast, Spotify, Apple. Go to our link in bio. You're gonna find that.
Hopefully, we see you tonight at 5 o'clock. I want to see all 250 people again. We'll see you tomorrow.
Peace.